Let's do a quick example with sports data. How about we go to hockeyreference.com? Ton of data on players and teams and seasons. How about we pull something from seasons? Let's go to pre-COVID season, 2019 to 2020. And we have data on every single game. We know the visiting team and goals that they scored and the home team and the goals that they scored. Oh, we actually know the attendance too. That's interesting. So how about we export this data, get table for CSV, which is a comma separated values. Let's highlight this plain text. It's a lot of games, it looks like. Keep going. And now we're in 2019, now we're in 2020. Just holding the mouse, keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. And oops. And we don't need the playoffs. I don't know if they even played playoffs there. So we'll stop here. Last game, it looks like, was March 11th, before COVID. So let's copy that text. Let's paste it into Excel. Paste, sure. It looks like it did not paste exactly how we want it to, because each data item is in one cell, but we want to separate date and score and team into separate columns. So we can actually highlight this first column, go to data and text to columns. Our text is really delimited. Each item is separated with a comma. So we're going to say the delimiter is a comma, and we'll finish. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted the teams to be in one column and the goals they scored in another column. We have attendance. That's a fantastic length of the game. These notes, let's delete the notes. Okay. And perhaps we can we run a regression on this? Sure. Like even on this alone, you could probably do a regression. You could see if bigger the attendance, the more goals the home team scores. That's two variables. That's a simple regression. That's a start. But there's a lot more that you can do with this data. So you could say, well, does the home team score more goals when there's a higher attendance relative to the visiting team? So you could create a variable called goal differential. What's a goal differential? Well, that's how many goals the home team scored minus how many goals the visiting team scored. Okay, so we see that the home team, Edmonton Oilers, in that first game scored one goal more than the visiting Vancouver. We could see, how about this, goals total. We could add them up. We could say 3 plus and 2. All right, 5 goals. And then we could maybe ask, hey, does attendance lead to more scoring or less scoring? And you have to come up with a story why that might be, but it doesn't seem that far-fetched. How about we use the date? The date is actually a really interesting variable. Let's extract day of the week from that. So day of week. It's not going to help us alone, but Excel has a function called weekday, and we want to use the date. And this numbering system we want to use is system 2, where Monday is a 1, Tuesday is 2, and Sunday is 7. So this game was played on a Wednesday. That's day of the week number 3. Sure, we could probably create dummies for each day of the week, but let's create a dummy for weekend. How about that? And a weekend would be, well, if this cell is greater than 4, so greater than a Thursday, then that means that we're Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to call that weekend. So if that's true, this cell should return 1. Otherwise, it should return 0. Here it returns 0 because this game was played on a Wednesday. Now, we've got Canadian teams, we have got US teams. How about we create a dummy for the Canadian visiting team? So it should equal 1 if the visiting team is from Canada. Okay, and it's going to be 0 if the visiting team is from the US. So we'll say if, and now we've got multiple Canadian teams. So we'll need to use the OR function, and we'll need to then list all the conditions that need to be satisfied, or one of these conditions needs to be satisfied for this to be evaluated as true. And so visiting teams, they are in B2. So if B2 equals, all right, Vancouver, that's a Canadian team. Or B2, if it's equal to, what's another Canadian team? How about Ottawa? Ottawa Senators. That's a Canadian team. Or B2 equals, I see Montreal, oops, in quotes, Montreal Canadians. I can probably have to go. Hopefully there aren't that many Canadian teams, so it doesn't take all day. But here, I'm going to start with these 3 for the purposes of this video. But I would put all of them in there so that I can really have a dummy that identifies, oh, this team is Canadian. So we'll close that, and this should return 1 if that is true, and 0 otherwise. Boom. Okay, yeah, so here for this first game, the visiting team was a Canadian team. Let's actually do the same thing for home team. Canadian home, and I'm just gonna copy and paste a large portion of this function. Copy. Oops. And so it's going to be equal, except now instead of referring to B2 cell, I need to be referring to D2. So D2 and D2 here, D2. That's it. That's fine. Okay. Oh, Edmonton Oilers. Of course, Edmonton Oilers are Canadian. So let's just add that. Or D2 equals Edmonton Oilers. And we'll also add it here. D2 equals Edmonton Oilers. So at least for these first few rows, we have it correctly. So here both visiting and home team were Canadian. Let's do one more variable where the visiting is foreign. So that could be actually 2 different ways. That could be a Canadian team playing in the US, or US team playing in Canada. Now that's going to happen when these 2 columns are not equal to each other. Okay, right now they're equal to each other because both home and visiting team are Canadian. If it was 0-0, then that means both home and visiting team were not Canadian, which means there would be US. And so if one is 0 and the other one is 1, that means that one of the teams, the visiting team, is foreign. So let's create that. That's going to be if this cell is not equal to this cell, then make it 1, otherwise make it 0. All right, we got some dummies here. Let's copy and paste this all the way. Oops, so I'm gonna I can just stretch that down to however many games we have. Ooh, that's a lot of games. Ooh, that's even with the season cut short, they played 1,000-something games. All right. Okay. So let's go to the top. We have all right, this game between Ottawa Senator and Maple Leafs. Yes. Why doesn't it oh, I didn't put Maple Leafs there, but here 1. Okay, the visiting team was foreign, clearly, because we've got Carolina Hurricanes hosting Montreal. Do I have a hypothesis about home team doing better when the visiting team is traveling from a foreign country? Sure, I could tell a story, and I can test this data. I can regress the goal differential on that dummy, and I can see if on average, when the team travels far, the visiting team does poorly. So that's just a start, right? I can probably do a lot more. I could see, well, how many days has elapsed since the team played the last game, but that's probably requires a lot more data manipulation for this project, for econometrics. This gives you plenty. You've got attendance, you've got goals, you've got days of the week, you've got whether the team traveled to a foreign country or not. Plenty to do here.